Thought for the day. Just as an empty lantern provides no light, self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine bright.
Welcome to 7 Minutes for Yourself. I'm Christina Aina, and I'm so glad you've joined me for what I believe will be 7 of the most enriching minutes of your day. Let's take this time to reconnect with ourselves and improve our well-being.
In today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself, we will uncover the amazing rewards that comes with making self-care a top priority. Have a listen.
Self-care isn't just a nice thing or a treat that we do whenever we can fit it in. No, it is an absolute must. I love the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So it is so important for you to keep your cup filled so that you are able to pour into the lives of everyone else that needs you. When I am not at my best, or if I am feeling stressed or tired, my entire family feels it. I am the heart of my home. So when I take the time to recharge my batteries, everything else in my life just runs smoother. Self-care is not selfish. If you don't take the time to take care of yourself first, you are not going to be in a position to take care of anyone else. It is just that simple. Now, I know that simple doesn't always mean easy, and this is something that you're going to have to be deliberate and intentional about, especially if this is new for you. As a mom, I know that this is tough, especially for working moms. We spend so much time away from our kids working that sometimes we tend to overcompensate for that when we're not working. It's as if putting ourselves first is somehow taking away from our family. I want to go back to my earlier point. You cannot give what you don't have. As we hear all the time before a flight takes off, in case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. That is self-care. Before I share some of the things that has worked for me, I want to ask you to share in the comments some of the things that you do for self-care. I know that everyone is different and self-care looks different from person to person. And because we are trying to build a community with this channel, I know that other women will benefit from your comment. So here are some of the tips that has worked for me over the years. Tip number 1 is to figure out what self-care looks like for you. As I mentioned, self-care looks different from person to person. So you got to spend some time figuring out what are the things that you do that just energizes you and recharges your batteries, and be intentional and deliberate about doing those things. For me, self-care looks like regular manicures, pedicures, facials, massages, and all of that. But most days, self-care for me looks like quiet time by myself to think and just be. Not Zena the wife, not Zena the mom, just Zena. So for me, that looks like time alone. I prioritize this time first thing in the morning when my house is quiet and everyone else is asleep. Tip number 2 is sleep. Now, I know that this seems pretty basic, but it is so important because I like to wake up early to prioritize my alone time. And I am one of those people that have to get at least 8 hours of sleep. Otherwise, I am just the biggest grouch. I have to prioritize getting to bed on time. So my girls have a bedtime and so do I. I use the sleep schedule in my iPhone Health app. I set a reminder 30 minutes before my bedtime so that when it goes off, I know that it is time for me to start winding down for the evening. The app also tracks my sleep data so that I can compare how I'm doing versus the goal that I've set for myself. Tip number 3 is to practice self-compassion. Be gracious with yourself and know that you are doing the best that you can in that moment. and also understanding that your best is going to look different from day to day. Along the same lines, I want to encourage you to pay attention to the way that you talk to yourself. I can do an entire video on mindfulness. Some of the things that we say to ourselves is so unkind, and there are things that we really would not say to someone that we loved. A great way to pay attention to your thoughts is by meditation. I use the Calm app for my meditation practice. There are daily guided meditations that are about 10 minutes long. I put in my headphones, find a comfortable spot, and turn my attention inwards. Tip number 4 is my favorite, and that is journaling. I have kept a journal since I was about 14 years old, and it's one of my favorite things to do because I love to write. I try to do this first thing in the morning before I start my day. I write whatever I'm thinking or however I'm feeling on that day. My gratitude practice is also included in my journal, so I take a few minutes every day to just jot down the things that I am grateful for. And finally, I set my intention for the day. Most days, my intention is to be present and to listen. I love to talk, so I have to remind myself every day to listen more than I talk. Self-care doesn't have to be this big event that takes all day and has to be planned and scheduled. It can be as little as 10 minutes a day doing something that you enjoy that restores you.
That concludes today's episode of 7 Minutes for Yourself. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. Today and every day with your kiddo is a gift. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.